Welcome to the Spirits, Angels, and Guides Oh My podcast.
Where the supernatural gets real, baby.
Hey everyone. Today we are exploring a topic that comes up often in spiritual spaces, creative spaces, and even scientific spaces: sacred geometry. Tara, this is one of my favorite topics. You know, I love sacred geometry. And if it's something that people are recognizing instinctively, well, I would say it is something that people are
Yeah.
recognizing instinctively, even if they don't have the language for it. And you're going to see it in ancient architecture. You're going to see religious symbols. You're going to see art, nature, and more recently, meditation tools, tattoos. I know I have some on me. You
Mhm.
probably have some on you.
We do.
Um, Jewelry, healing spaces. And I really want the listeners to understand this really isn't about memorizing these symbols, right?
Oh, yeah, no.
I feel, yeah, it's more about understanding the forms, because they do seem to speak to us at a level kind of deeper than thought.
Sacred geometry is one of those things that I don't think about very much. The biggest one that I sit with is the Merkabah, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I
Mhm.
do find that, we have cards when we do the essential spirit scopes. We have cards that have a lot of sacred geometry in it, especially that deck we got from Sedona. Right?
Yes.
That had a lot of sacred geometry in it. I don't think about sacred geometry a lot. I really don't. And when you were like, hey, we should do this, and I was like, yeah, we should. I want to know a little bit more about the history of it, though, because I'm not that person. I'm not that researcher. Spirit tells me Tara does, right? You know that better than
Yeah.
anyone,
Yeah.
because you're the researcher. I'm just, I'm just the person who lets it download. So sacred geometry isn't new. It's not even close. And that's something
Right.
I think I knew deep down because it feels old. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does feel old. It's like, well, you take it right back to the pyramids, Tara. Like there's all sorts of beautiful drawings inside, and a lot of it is the geometry. It's not just the people or the glyphs that you see in there.
No, you're totally right, because these shapes appear in some of the earliest civilizations we know of: ancient Egypt, Sumer, Greece, India, indigenous cultures across the world. And again, when we were in Sedona, we did remember the little pink Jeep tour, and
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, people, if you're watching, but I was making some weird kind of traveling up a hill. Um, anyway, they had all sorts of geometry, I think, in carved into the caves that they were living in. So, you know,
They did.
these have been used long before the word spiritual meant what it does today.
Absolutely. Like in many traditions, geometry wasn't symbolic, it was more structural.
Yeah, yeah.
And like it described how temples were built, how cities were laid out, how time
Hmm.
and cycles were understood, right?
Yeah, and I mean, that makes sense. When you say the word geometry, I think math. If you didn't add
Yeah.
sacred into it, I'd be like, yeah, hell's no, not interested one iota. Right? I can barely do two
Yeah.
plus two, so there is no geometry happening in my world. So in Egypt, though, geometry was tied to resurrection and con- continuity.
Continuity.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, Tara
Yeah.
are big words. In Greece, philosophers, oh my God, philosophers like Pythagoras. Please
She
forgive me,
you
everyone.
did you did she can sometimes butcher things, but we love her. It's all good.
I use words the way they're spelt, not the way they actually sound. So sometimes that was Pythagoras, people. Believed number and form were the language of the universe. And in India, the yantras were used as meditation tools, not decoration. Because think about it, when
Mhm.
people put all that up, there is an element of decorative kind of mindset to that. So these forms weren't meant to be stared at endlessly. They were meant to train perception. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Someone should train them
Yeah.
how to
And they're
think.
so beautiful. They're so beautiful, so many of the shapes. And what's interesting is that sacred geometry wasn't separated from daily life. It was kind of like you referred to earlier. It was the mathematics, right?
Yep.
Um, it was spirituality, it was architecture, it was philosophy, but it was all of it all at once.
Which is kind of cool when you think about it, because
Mhm.
Spirituality is one of those things that everyone has a slightly bit of a different idea of what it is. You know, people that followed organized religions, and I'm jumping off onto a bit of a tangent here, so just roll with me. But people who, you know, follow organized religions, they feel they're very spiritual, right? I feel I'm very spiritual for exactly the opposite reason, that I don't follow organized religion, that I don't have a dogma, that I don't have a creed. I have principles for sure, but
Mhm.
I don't follow any of that. So if sacred geometry can bring together things like mathematics and architecture and philosophy and spirituality all into one combined kind of I don't know, what do you call
Like
this,
like a
container,
container.
container,
Yeah.
container, container, then I think that is something really powerful. But so many people don't really recognize it, but they're drawn to it.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
It
Because
does.
here's the thing, Nan. I find that humans are pattern recognizing beings.
We
Okay.
totally are.
Yep. Absolutely. And we hate breaking patterns. Can I just say that? Topic for another time. But people break the patterns that don't work for you. Our
Yeah.
nervous systems, you know, calm when we encounter coherence. That makes absolute sense. So,
Yeah.
so I'm going to use an example. Nan is the calm, I'm the storm. We move into a space and Nan's all cool and collected. She's fun as hell, but cool and collected. And I come in like a whirling dervish, and then someone has to like settle me down. It's true, right? We feel better when we're around. Just take the idea of being around people, though. I feel better when I'm with Nan because
Thanks.
automatically she calms me down. I feel better when I'm with Jenny. I feel better when I'm with Lynn. Well, Lynn doesn't calm me down. Lynn elevates me into to stuff. But you get my drift. So
Mhm.
if our nervous system's calm when we encounter coherence, then that would be true when someone is spiritual or not. Doesn't that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel that that's why, like the so-called, you and I call it muggles because we love Harry Potter. The muggle, non-magical humans respond to pattern and shapes and geometry so well. And they might not call it sacred geometry, but they're drawn to the symmetry, they're
Mhm.
drawn to the spirals, they're drawn to balance, proportion, repeating forms, like even repeating numbers,
Oh,
right? There's so many
people
people.
love repeating numbers. Do you know how many people send me a message and like, I got 111 today?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
that's good. That's good. Um, and again, it becomes about the patterns, though, right? I mean,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
111. So how do we use them? Nature uses these patterns everywhere. So take a moment with me, guys, and just think about it: shells, flowers, galaxies, human
Hmm.
DNA.
Totally.
Right? So when
Yeah.
someone feels grounded looking at a mandala, oh my God, one day I should tell you guys the story about the mandalas at the First United Spirituals Church. That won't be today, but it will be one day. That, that's crazy. Um, so if it's feeling grounded looking at a mandala or a spiral, that's not imagination, that's resonance.
Absolutely. And for the spiritual and metaphysical people, the draw often goes a step further. It becomes a language of alignment.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, it's something that helps the system organize itself. Like, I just digress for a second, but as you know, I dug all of I have my first degree is in visual arts, so I dug all of my paints and my paintbrushes and everything out of the attic over the holiday, and I started painting again, and it was staggering how much I needed balance and I needed shapes and I needed reoccurring patterns just to be part of feeling okay with the direction that the art was going. But yeah,
That's
it's
cool
very
though.
cool.
I mean, I think that's really important. And I think one of the things that happened this is happening this year is there is a lot of reflection on what allows us to feel grounded, but also safe, right?
Yes.
Like safe in the work that we're doing, safe in our everyday lives, being able to have the muggle life blend with the spiritual life, blend with the work life and all that jazz. So I love that for you because it's healthy, right?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
it's healthy, and it doesn't take you out of your body. It brings you more fully into it, and that I truly believe, Nana Banana, that this is why people tattoo symbols on themselves.
Oh yeah. 100%.
right?
There's one medium I follow, and she's actually written a book on the spiritual meaning behind tattoos and where it's placed on your body and stuff. I can't recall her name. But it was very interesting. I know I should, we'll throw it in the Instagram. Um, but it's one of those things where when I started reading about it, I was like, this is interesting. And some of it I relate to and I go, okay, but some of it I was like, I don't know, like the fact that, she would narrow down a section of where you'd put sacred geometry on your forearm. Well, I don't know if that resonates for all the tens of thousands of people. Some people just put a tattoo there because they like it, right?
Right, there's other reasons for it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, everyone does it a bit differently, right? Like I have the pentagram, the pentacle behind my ear. I don't know if that's
Nice.
the best place to have the pentacle behind my ear, but it's a place I wanted the pentacle behind my ear. I have, different symbols on my arms, the big goddess on my arm right here. I don't think I
Hmm.
put a lot thought into it about it from a spiritual place, other than I really want this on my body, and this is where I'd like to see it. So
Yeah.
teach their own.
And as you know, my niece and I, we actually created our own sacred geometry with our initials, and it was really cool. And we put it into like a figure eight, and we had tattoo, but we only put it on our ankle because that's where we liked it. And we had space,
Okay,
so it was.
there you go. But you want to hear something weird about that, though? Is that Mel and I were fooling around with Mel being one of my besties in the Muggle world, and we were fooling around with our initials, trying to make a tattoo out of it,
Yeah,
and we made a tattoo out of it, and we're gonna get it done.
that's
I'm
hilarious.
gonna have to get tattoos on like my forehead soon. I'm running out of spaces here, people. Okay, um, so we're okay. Sidetracked. We were all over the place. Let's talk about some of the common forms and how people use them. Okay,
Yes, let's get
my
back on track.
let's back on track. People, stay with us. The Merkabah. That is my favorite piece of sacred geometry. Might be because it's the one that I was introduced the first and learned the most about. I actually spent a tremendous amount of time working with the Merkabah with Claudette Godin, who's passed over now. She was a very, very
Oh,
lovely, lovely, very high reputation in the spiritual community, both in England and over here. And I sat with her and we did a lot of work with the Merkabah. It's not for the lighthearted. The Merkabah is often associated with the light body. So this is a lot of, you know, trance work and things like that. But
mm,
let's talk about it from a practical level, though, because I don't know how many of you guys are suddenly deciding you're going to do trance work and light body up into you know where. But practically, it is about balance, okay, between the polarities. So masculine, feminine. And do not fight me about masculine, feminine. They are separate. They blend well together, but they are separate. Action, rest, heaven, earth. So people use it in meditation, protection practices, or grounding, not to escape. Okay? Hear me, babies. The Merkabah, not to escape. Oh, I have a Merkabah right here.
so for the people listening,
Yes,
she's showing it
sorry.
on camera if you want to see on YouTube.
I always forget that some of you are just listening, and Nan always remembers. But anyway, um, I'll take a picture of this and we'll put it in Instagram. Anyway, heaven, earth, masculine, feminine, action, rest, using this not to escape in meditation or protection practices or grounding, but to orient.
Yeah. It's powerful. I have some Merkabahs too. I love them. And of course, I have them in crystal form because I love my rocks and crystals.
Well,
Um,
crystal.
but if we go, yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you, Mom.
Um, so one of the ones that I really like to work with is the flower of life. And for those of you who've had a reading with me, my spirit board has the flower of life on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a board I co-created with my spirit guides. It's a really powerful reading I do. But the one thing I love, other than the fact that it's one of the most universally recognized patterns, it represents interconnectedness. And so, how everything emerges from the same source. So, when I'm doing my readings, I'm basically pulling in that energy, pulling in chakra crystals, spirit guides. So, it's a really, really powerful sacred geometry piece that helps me do a really cool reading.
Just thinking about the what it's called, flower of life. Like interconnectedness just makes sense when I don't know why
Yeah.
you said flower of life, you said interconnectedness, I said boom, that's it, absolutely. So people
Yeah.
use it for centering, clarity, creative flow, calming, overstimulation. I feel like I need the flower of life right here on my forehead, people. It's not about activating anything though, you guys. It's about remembering coherence. It's very
Yeah.
purposeful, the sacred geometry, I find very purposeful in
It is.
being able to use it in your humanness. Again, representing why so many people that maybe don't practice spirituality or metaphysical work on a day-to-day basis are drawn to it.
Yeah. And so one of the other ones that people naturally go to on the flower life is the seed of life. And so the seed of life is often seen as the blueprint of creation.
Okay, I love this one for beginnings. And we don't
Hmm.
talk about the seed of life very much. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know about you, Nan, but how many times have you been like, oh, we're going to use the seed of life today? Like, it doesn't come up very often. It has to be very intentional, right? I don't know why.
Yeah.
Even calling it the seed of life makes me giggle because I'm that kind of mature. But new cycles, intentions, healing work, okay, reminds the
Hmm.
system that growth happens in stages, not all at once.
Yes. Yes. And let's go to my next favorite one that I use all the time with the Akashic readings I do, which is Metatron's Cube. I've even got it on my wall. So if you're watching, let's do this. See if I can show. Can you see it?
Oh, that's so cool. You do have it on your wall.
Yeah, so if you're listening, go to YouTube and you can see what it looks like. But it shows up a lot in modern spiritual imagery. I think you hear a lot of people refer to Metatron's cube, but you got to be careful with it because why, Tara?
Because it's powerful. It's powerful.
Girl.
You know what? Baby, I just got goosebumps like all over. I'm feeling the feels. It's powerful and it's also easily misused.
Yes.
When used well, though, it helps organize chaos and bring structure. I just want to say, please use
Maybe we
it.
need one on your roof. We need one on your right above where you sit.
Oh, Lordy, Lordy, can you imagine? When chased or overused, though, it can overwhelm the nervous system. And I don't even think you have to chase it or overuse it to just have it overwhelm the nervous system. I just said it and I'm overwhelmed. I broke out in a rash on my hand and everything.
Oh.
Okay, man. Let me calm
Okay.
down while you do the next one.
Okay, so let's talk about the Sri Yantra. This one is one of the oldest sacred diagrams that's still in use. And what is it used for, Tara? It's like testing
I
101.
know. Okay, let me think here. Focus works on focus, presence, and integration, um, but not visualization. Attention,
Right. Yes.
attention. So this is a good one, and I would just like to say that I thank the great goddess that you said that name, and it wasn't me.
I know when I do the research sometimes and I throw some notes towards Tara and we're referring to them as we do the podcast, afterwards she's like, really? Like, I think I need to start putting pronunciations in for us as well.
You know what? It is totally a Tara thing, though, Nan. I've always been like that. The name Persephone, one of the goddesses. Do you know how long it took me to be able to
Yeah.
say Persephone? Because I would look at the word and I read it as the letters are. Persephone. Like, that's
Yes.
not
Yeah.
spelled like Persephone. I'm just saying. Just saying. Just saying.
You know what? It was that way for with quinoa. I quinoa. I always said quinoa, and I was like, for years, and my cousin's like, it's quinoa. I'm like, but it's spelled quinoa, and she's like, no, no, no. Anyways, I digress. Let's get back on track. So let's talk a little bit,
Attention.
Tara, about it's me focusing this time. The misuse, bypassing, and why chasing around signs and symbols and stuff like that doesn't work.
Thank you,
Okay.
great goddess Nancy. Bring it home, baby.
Okay. Not that I want to call anyone out, but we do have a friend that,
Oh, you so
you
want
know,
to.
Well, and they have an alarm set for when the time it shows up. And so on the phone, if it's 111, 222, the alarm goes off, and I'm thinking, but that's not, that's to me, that's chasing it a little bit. That's chasing the signs and symbols. With all due respect, I love her dearly. I'm not going to say her name. But for me, the magic is in when I'm completely stressed out and need a sign and I look at the clock and it's 111. That's when
Yes.
it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
No one needs the ding ding
Right?
ding ding ding. I mean, maybe they do. It's no shade. We're just
There's no shade. I mean, if it empowers her through the day, then even more great. But
even
I've
more great.
seen people chase
Yeah.
more great, more great. I mean, that's not even good English. I can't even. Menopause is fun. So we've seen people chase geometry, and that's sometimes when things can get dysregulated.
Oh, so much so. When it's real, people become more embodied. So what I mean by that is, like you said, when you're thinking about something and all of a sudden you look over and it's 111. I'm super hyper focused on 111. I think that's because it's January. Um, uh,
Yeah,
you become more embodied when it's natural, not less.
yeah,
Like more present, more
yeah,
functional. Because now you're looking at it and you're like, okay, okay, I see it. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. And that's the part people don't often talk about.
No, because everyone wants it to be something spectacular, right? Sensations
Hmm.
without integration don't mean growth. If it destabilizes your life, relationships, or body, it's not sacred, it's just stimulation. So
Yeah.
people have a really hard time, again, that aren't working in the metaphysical, spiritual elements on a regular basis like you and I do. They have a
Hmm.
really hard time figuring out if this is just sacred or is this stimulation. It's and they want it to be sacred though, and they want it really
Hmm.
really bad. Do you remember when we talked about how people would come to me and be like, someone crossed over, I need to see them, show me how to be clairvoyant, and they would do the work with me, but they still couldn't see it because they were forcing it. I feel like this
Yes.
thought
Yes.
falls into that kind of flow, right?
Mm.
You know, we're so excited. That's why angel numbers to me mean very little now. Mean
Okay.
very little to me now, because I find that for me, it is just a really quick, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I don't need to read anything into it. So I just, 111 comes up, I happen to look over, okay, 111 comes up. I tuck it away. Again, I'm at a different spiritual elevation. Oh, dear goddess.
Yeah.
Than other people,
I,
vibration.
but it's not like you're not throwing shade at people. Like I feel there's a certain amount of power and validation that comes for when we're in development and we go, you know what? I keep seeing 111. What does this mean? Absolutely look it up. Like if it's going to empower you and make you feel better, great. Um, but don't build identity around it,
Right? It can't
right?
become your whole personality, right? So I'm going to repeat
Yeah.
something again. We're talking about this, and we're talking about sensations without integration don't mean growth. Okay, that makes sense. That's what we're actually talking about, guys. When Nan and I are battling over here, that's what we're talking about. If it destabilizes your life, these these symbols or anything like that, destabilizes your life in relationships or body, it's not sacred. It's not doing what it's meant to do. Your humanness is
Yeah.
in the way. It's just stimulation. I can't
Hmm.
say that loud enough for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this brings us to exactly what I wanted to talk about, which is why advanced practitioners talk about it less. Okay.
Mm.
So remember how I just
Yep.
said to you, like 111 is great and lovely and means a lot to, but for me, it doesn't mean the same thing anymore. Like I see it, I can
Right.
integrate it. I can integrate it without even thinking about it. Sometimes I look at it and someone else will say, "Do you see it's 111?" I'll be staring straight at it. I'll be like, "Oh yeah, it's 111." It just doesn't mean the same thing. But I've noticed the people who really experience this, like you said, Nan, you said it beautifully. My girl Nan said it beautifully. Those who really experience this don't build identity around it.
Yeah. Yes, it's like you said, it integrates and then it disappears or it's absorbed. Like you just kind of you understand it. And And life just works better when we receive signs and symbols that way, in my opinion.
Me too, because it's no force. It's not overthinking. There is so much overthinking in spiritualism and the metaphysics that, I mean, again, it comes down to trying to make everything fit.
Yeah,
So if you just let it integrate and it just disappears and you just allow it to happen, that's usually how you know it's authentic, guys. That's usually how you know it's
absolutely.
authentic, right?
Exactly. So
Yes.
basically, if yes. So if someone is listening who is experiencing this or wonder if they are, it's the relationship that matters more than the phenomenon. So think about
Woo!
the relationship that you're having. What is what is the sign? What is the symbol? And what is your relationship to it? Don't chase it. Just have it, like Tara mentioned earlier, interpret it naturally. Let it flow into you. Um, and you don't necessarily have to seek, Dr.
Mm.
Google to find out what it is, but feel it, right? And you're going to hear Tara and I talk all the time about journaling. Journal, right? And then
Yeah.
notice what energy is stabilizing after you have that engagement with that sign or symbol.
Absolutely. Like the interpretation of everything, we all have a different interpretation. So not everything is going to like line up with what Nan thinks something means, the experience, and what I think it means. We are all unique and we all receive for our own personal development. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you're sitting there and you're listening to um, Cryon channeling, right? And they're talking about Cryon's talking about, if you don't know Cryon, go look it up, please. To Lee Carroll, go look up. And if Cryon's giving you this interpretation, that is their interpretation. Do you know what this reminds me of, Nanny Boo?
Mm.
I've called you Nana Banana.
What?
I've called you all sorts of stuff today. This reminds me of when we were talking about oracle cards, and when I teach and you teach about oracle cards and the use of them. How I always say, if you don't throw that book out faster than your head can spin, then you're going to rely on other people's interpretation of what the card is. And yes, even my deck of cards that's coming out, we put a little tiny thing about what the cards are in there, but the interpretation of the card is yours. It's yours. Spirit will
Yes.
work through you to give that message, whether it's for yourself or for someone else. Not what it says in the book. The book will give you maybe this much of it, but you have to be able to legitimately bring it from source, right? So if you interpret it one way super quick because you know that everyone interprets this way, you're not doing the work. So you're not using the symbols the way they're being guided to you to be used. That's just my thought process. Final
Yeah.
words?
And yeah, well, you and I have talked about this, and I'll digress on oracles for a second. When people are starting out, I feel Tara will say throw the book out. What I will say is in the morning, pull a card, journal about it, download what you need to download for signs and symbols. And then if you really need to consult the book, look at when you're done your day and go, what did that artist mean with this? What did that psychic mean with this? Eventually you probably won't use the book, but I feel when you're starting out, it's not necessarily a bad thing to consult it because sometimes it's nice to understand where they were coming from, especially if the cards are more simple and they don't have a lot of robust art in them, if that makes any sense.
I think for me, the whole thing is if you, especially if you're new to this, I get you. I know what you're saying, but I I I guess I worry. I guess I am overthinking this. But if a new person comes in and they're using their cards and then they journal it and then they go, and you have to be in a certain place in your development to be able to go and look at that card and not be like, "Oh shit, I was wrong."
Good point. Yeah, that is a good point. That's a
It,
great point.
right? You have to be
Yeah.
able to trust what you've written, babies. Trust what you've written. It
Yeah,
is correct. And then go over here, and if it aligns, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. That's
exactly. And
okay.
that's I'm glad you added that. That's a good qualifying addition to what I'm saying. Absolutely. I
Thank you
do
very
agree with
much.
that.
Okay. So this is why we work so well together. But I want to say this. If geometry never shows up for you, that's not a deficit, baby. Like, it's
Mm,
okay. If you don't recognize it, that's okay too. Integration happens through many pathways. Sacred
yes.
geometry doesn't make life more mystical. Sounds like it though when you talk about it like that, right? It usually makes life more livable. And that's kind of where we're going to leave it today.
That
If this
sounds good.
conversation, you like that? If this conversation
Yeah.
resonated, babies, whether you're deeply immersed in spiritual work or simply curious, notice what feels a little more settled in you right now. That's often where the real integration happens. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're subscribed to us, Spirit Angels and Guides Oh My, and feel free to share this with someone who might appreciate this conversation. 111. Let it just come through you. But I also want to mention that if you'd like a quieter, more ongoing space for reflection, meditation, monthly teachings, you're always welcome to join us in the Spirit Lounge.
Absolutely.
Thanks for spending this time with us. Nan, I love you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the wonderfully weird and metaphysical.
If you loved what you heard, don't forget to follow us for more insights and behind the scenes fun.